What's up, guys? Wanted to go ahead and issue a disclaimer for this episode. We ran into a lot of technical difficulties trying to get this one recorded. Just bear in mind that the sound quality isn't going to be up to what you've had the last two episodes. No matter how much we tried, it didn't come out to the best. So, want to give a shout out to Natalie. Thank you so much, Nat. You really worked hard on this one and made the quality as best as we could. So with that being said, I do have some good news. Not sure you guys heard at the beginning, but I am featuring some brand new music on this podcast. I went ahead and took the time to work with two great up-and-coming artists. The first song you heard was produced by anqmusic. That's Alpha Nancy Queen Music. He's been doing some great work, and ANQ, thank you so much for taking the time to do this song. I really appreciate you, man. The next artist I'm going to feature is Waxy. You're going to be listening to his song coming up shortly. But Waxy, true artist, and I'm glad to be featuring you as well on my podcast. You can also find Waxy on Instagram as well under WAXIE, that's Waxy, or Waxy Music Library. So with that being said, I'm Luis Agustin, and this is A View to Film. All right, guys, so welcome back to A View to Film. So for my next guest, we got my bodybuilder friend, personal trainer, an expert in health studies. Ladies and gents, please reach out to him if you want some great results. He goes by El Monstro in some circles, and in some other circles, he goes by El Fuerte. Please welcome my brother, Mr. Oliver Arias. Oliver, what's up, bro?
What's going on, brother? It's an honor.
Oh, yeah? Oh, thanks, man. Thanks for taking the time to be on my podcast. I really appreciate it.
You know, I had to come out of the freaking basement that they got me locked in here.
Is that right? Is that right? I see the beard. It's coming in, huh?
Coming in full, sir. But definitely have to come out, show support, show love to the
my brother.
The Don Corleone of movies.
All right. Well, so what movie did we pick, my brother? What do we got?
I thought it was appropriate that it is the 35th anniversary of Back to the Future.
Yes,
and I felt that it was only appropriate that we bring this movie to life.
Woo! So for those who don't see, he just put it up on the screen. So shout out to Back to the Future.
Yes, sir. One of our all-time favorites. So I felt that it was only appropriate. And like I told you on a separate message we talked about a couple of weeks ago, I was like, what the fuck is going on? Like, I see Back to the Future on Netflix. I see it on Showtime. Am I missing something here? Like, what's going on that they've been showing Back to the Future? And then I was like, 35th. I was like, oh, that's why. I felt like this was the perfect time for us to break this film down, a freaking classic.
Well, for those who don't know, could you quickly describe in your own words what's Back to the Future about?
So basically, Doc Brown invents a time machine, him and his good friend, Mr. Marty McFly.
Yep.
He asked for his assistance on his new experiment. And unbeknownst, unfortunately, Marty did not know that there was a little side drama going on between Doc Brown and the Libyans because he stole the damn plutonium. The plutonium is what he needs to actually make the time machine work, which I thought is a very interesting part of the movie. And those Libyans come because he basically screwed them.
Whoa, hold on. Let's not describe the whole movie. I just want to give an overall thing. So basically, Marty goes back in time. He gets into some hijinks. Has to find a way to get back, right?
Yes, sir. He interferes with his parents' first meeting, which starts a whole chain of events that brings a lot of drama.
Exactly.
And he has to find a way to get back home without any plutonium.
So before I ask you any questions that were submitted to us via the web, I got to issue a spoiler warning because I don't want to spoil anything else for anybody before we moving forward. So spoiler warning to those who haven't seen it. I don't know who you are, but first question right off the bat. If you could put a label on this movie, what category would you think it is? Do you think this is a sci-fi movie, or do you think it's an action movie? Is it an adventure movie? What is this movie to you?
You actually took all three words out of my mouth. I was about to say all three things
Yeah.
and a little sprinkle of comedy because it's funny.
Right.
Movie.
Right.
But yeah, it's mostly sci-fi, definitely action and adventure because, there's a lot of it in this movie, which makes it great. But it's sci-fi because remember, this is something that, for um, maybe for you and me, but it's something that hasn't happened. Who knows if somebody's actually done it, but going back in time is something that, it's like a wild fantasy. So that's why I classify it as sci-fi.
All right.
But, that's just my personal opinion,
All right. So what do you feel like you've missed or you actually caught this time watching it because you were preparing for this podcast?
Oh, great question. One of the number one things that I love about, this more than anybody because me and your brother talk about it all the time. One of the number one things I like and I love about watching movies over and over again because everybody loves to ask, especially me, people love asking me this question. Why do you watch the same movie over and over again? Because there's a lot of things you miss when you watch a movie the first time or even the second time. A lot of things go over your head that you don't notice. And actually, that's why I love this question because there is a lot of things, especially with a lot of your favorites of all time, you tend to notice that you didn't notice the first time. Like, one thing that always stands out to me is that I notice a lot of the scenes where they're purposely showing you, like, the 85 version of the town and a lot of things. And, when you first see the movie, that goes over your head. You're not thinking about what the town looks like. But then when you notice that he goes back in time, you notice all the differences of how society's changed in those 30 years from when him going from 85 to 55, which I always thought was real cool.
I have a very important question to ask you because this is something that even as I've seen this movie so many times, can you explain to me the 25-minute delay in the first scene with the clocks? Can you explain that to me? Because I still have a difficult time understanding it.
Well, I mean, I'm gonna be honest. Like, I think the scene is significant just because it's. I don't really think that scene is like too like for us to overthink it. I just think it's that he said it 25 minutes late more for just him doing an experiment, and I think it's also to show that Marty's freaking late to school, which, as you see when he gets to school, him getting in trouble. I think it's just a significant of Marty's mess ups and shit like that. That's what I interpret.
I get what you're saying. I guess I got caught in wrapping my brain around like, all right, what was Doc's experiment that he made it like all the clocks in the house 25 minutes sooner? Like, I don't know. That was just weird to me.
Yeah, I know. I mean, Doc is, as we see through this movie, we already know that Doc is a little out there because, one of my favorite parts, which we're going to discuss as we talk along, is that he's actually shocked the freaking time machine works later. That he's like, oh shit, I actually invented something that works. So I think that's the whole point. You know what I mean?
Let's say that because I have a theory on that. I was going to tell you, but we have a theory. Let's move on with the questions. All right?
Yes, sir.
So the next one, why doesn't Marty's watch ever work? Can you explain that to me? It never works. He's always staring at it and it never works.
I think I really believe that that's like the comical side of the movie that I told you. That's why I said this movie's like comedy. Then remember, this movie's all about time, and it's ironic that his watch never works. So I think I think that's the comical side of this movie, that it's to make you laugh. Like, damn, it's supposed to be about time. It's supposed to be about time traveling. Your time never works. That's how I interpret it. But, that's why I think that this movie definitely has some comedy to it, and that's what I love about it. That's just my take on it.
Yeah, that's true. All right.
It's the irony. It's the irony, yeah.
All right. Does Marty still have eardrums? Yes or no?
Man, that's a good question. I don't know. I don't think he does.
Save it. All right. Here's another question. Did the Pinheads ever make it?
The Pinheads? Hell no. Well, no. We're going to try not to give too much away, but by the original 1985 version, before he went back in time and changed shit, they did not.
Well, listen, we did the spoiler warning, so go ahead. And also, no. Let's pretend like we're only going to talk, like he only made one, right? So let's not even talk about the fact that there was another Jennifer actor. There was like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Let's just go with one.
Well, yes, because he went back in time and kind of changed his future. Because he was going to quit. because he told Jennifer, I don't think I'm cut out for music after getting rejected. By the way, Huey Lewis is the guy who tells him, Huey Lewis in the news is the guy who tells him that he's too down loud, which, again, comedy. That's funny. How is the guy who's a damn singer is telling you you're too fucking loud? And the guy who's known for being rebellious is telling you that you're loud. I thought that's, again, comedy. That's what I love about this movie. It has so many subtle comedy shit in it. But yeah, like, I think the Pinheads made it because when he went back and changed his time, he gained confidence when he came back. It's crazy. But I'm going to say yes, they made it.
All right, fair enough. I'll take that answer. That's fine.
If you, like I said, we're only talking about part one, but if you go by the rest of the thing, it seems that Marty is made it in music. But that's after altering his future a couple times, which, you know, if you see all three parts, you understand what we're talking about. But, you know, I'm going to say yes. My answer is yes. Bottom line.
I'll take it. All right, so moving on into the first half of the movie, right? Doc
Yes,
Brown
sir.
puts in the time machine November 5th, 1955. Quick question before we even dive into the first couple of scenes, before the Libyans come in. What is the significance, or what other movie do you remember that November 5th is significant?
There is another movie, and right now I am drawing a little bit of a blank, even though I do know which one you're talking about. There is another movie that has a November 5th.
It's on Netflix right now. I was actually just watching it.
November 5th? On Netflix?
V for Vendetta. V for Vendetta. That's it. I don't want.
Oh.
I thought that was funny that he put November 5th, and I'm like, oh.
He probably did it because of Back to the Future. Knowing the odds. But a lot of people seem to do November for some reason in movies. That is true. But speaking of that topic, since we're diving into the November 5th tapping in, he actually did that because he just threw that number out of his ass because he was just telling Marty the story of how he came up with time travel, which I thought is very ironic that he was telling him. He's like, man, we can look up the birth of Christ. We can look up anything we want. And he just happened to put November 5th, 1955. And he's like, oh yeah, that's the day that I slipped and I banged my head and I freaking had the vision, which is the flux capacitor to create the time machine. And I thought that was so cool.
What's crazy to think about is that if he would have left it at the birth of Christ, Marty would have never came back.
Oh no, he would have been screwed. He would have been assed out. He had no plutonium. He had nothing. God damn, he would have been screwed. He would have. It would have been a 20-minute movie. Over. Never to be seen again.
All right. So something I wanted to mention to you because I finally took the time to go ahead and pay close attention to the film.
Yes.
Here's a couple of things that I noticed, when I was watching it in the background, and don't make fun of me, but I noticed that the license plate was out of time.
Well, that's not something I noticed right away, but I did notice it after, But yeah, you're right.
The other thing I noticed, and I'm serious, I never paid attention to it, was Doc Brown's van. It said 24-hour scientific services. Can you tell me what scientific services are? What is that?
I don't know. He's some, I guess he does whatever he needs to do.
My man said, and later on in the movie, yeah, I got a permit for this. So I'm like, do you have a permit for everything, Doc? Is this scientifically relevant? What is
There's a trivia to that. Damn, and I wanted to bring it up. There is a trivia to the whole permit thing. That's why he has to dig really hard. I got a permit stuck in here somewhere, but yeah,
Well, what is it? That was fake?
Nah, it was legit. He had a legit permit, even though he freaking had to struggle for it. Which I thought was funny, but yeah.
All right, cool. First major question I got for you, brother, and I've been curious to know your answer to this.
Yes, sir.
Is the time machine the greatest movie car of all time? Your thoughts?
The DeLorean?
Yeah, the DeLorean, the time machine.
Bar none, yes. Bar none. It is the most especially because of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
They made the DeLorean famous. The freaking the owner of DeLorean, he thanks them for putting the DeLorean in their movie because they made the car so popular. What other movie you can say has done that? It has made a car that popular?
I mean,
especially a DeLorean though, because a DeLorean, DeLorean's alright, but we're not talking a Benz or some shit like that, or a Jag.
But if we're talking about movie cars, what about the Batmobile?
Well, I mean, Batmobile is iconic, but they've also switched the Batmobile a couple times. So think about it. The DeLorean stood the test of time, except for obviously Part 3, and we don't need to get into all that. We're only talking about Part 1 today, but you know what I'm talking about. The DeLorean, I think the DeLorean they made, I just think it's very significant to show the power of a movie and how powerful that this trilogy was. That they made a freaking decent car super duper popular. And even the owner of the DeLorean has admitted to that, like how popular the movie made his car. So, I mean, I have to say yes. I have to.
Fair enough. I'll take that answer. So we're going through the first half of the film.
Yes.
He gets in the car. He goes back in time. What do you like about that first half of the film? What do you think draws you into this movie?
Well, what draws me in especially is, well, right away, you know, like I know, we were just talking about it less than an hour ago, like when he's telling him, when he's literally getting him ready for the experiment, and he's like, yo, when this car hits 88 miles per hour, you're gonna see some serious shit. Like, yo, just that alone gets your curiosity. Like, yo, but wait, what's about to happen? Like, yo, like, I'm here interested. Like, yo, what's gonna happen when it goes 88? That shit just jetted, left a trail of freaking fire and shit. And he's like, yo, what did I tell you? 88!
I don't want to jump ahead, but that is actually, since you wanted to bring it up, that is actually my favorite quote of the whole film. Because, you know, it's kind of like what you said. It signifies the beginning of the adventure, you know?
Yeah.
Hey, I'm going to tease you, and I've already came up with something that's going to signify, hey, you know what? This is going to blow your mind, and it's going to be something that you're never going to see coming, you know?
Yeah.
I feel like, you know, when you get that line, that iconic line at the beginning of the film, you're like, wow, like, I could only imagine first time hearing that and just like, wait, what is going on? If I've never known what this movie's about, if I've never even had an inkling as to what's going to happen, you know, you're also going to guess, okay, so what's going on? Is he going to kill us? Because Marty was stepping away, right?
Yeah, Marty was shook. And who would it be? You're going to let a car just hit you? Like, he's just like, what the hell's going on? He's like, yo, it's called 88. You're going to see some serious shit right now. And it gets your curiosity. It gets you very interested in that scene. Like, wait, what's about to happen? Like,
exactly.
Just like you said, if you haven't seen the movie, you're like, wait a minute, what's going to happen? Like, when it goes 88, is it going to blow up? Like, what's going to happen? But yeah, I agree with you. I have my certain quote.
What would you say your favorite quote is, since we're already jumping on quotes? I didn't want to jump ahead, but go ahead. Let's see your favorite quote, brother.
Well, I'm going to give you two. I love when Marty's being chased by the Libyans and he says, let's see if you bastards can do 90.
Why do you like that quote so much?
Because, well, first of all, I love the quote because them guys are crazy. Like, they were literally about to shoot a bazooka at him and he's like, holy shit. And then it's just like, yo, fuck it. Like, I don't care if I go back in time. Yo, I gotta jet it because they're gonna kill my ass. So I just thought that was a powerful scene when he's just like, yo, let's see you bastards do 90. And then he jets it. And also, one of my favorite dialogues, which we were talking about it, and I mentioned it to you earlier. Now I'm going to mention it now, is when Marty goes back in time officially, and then he meets Doc for the first time, his 1955 self, and then he's just like, and then he tells him the story about, you know, him slipping and hitting his head. Doc then realized, wow, this kid is really telling the truth. He's from the future. Because nobody else knows this story. So how the hell would he know that? And I love that part, but I also love the part when he actually takes him to the time machine that's hidden and he freaking shows him like that the flux capacitor works, and Doc is in shock, like, I actually invented something that works. And then Marty tells him, you bet your ass it works. Like,
so, all right. But I'm glad you brought that up, because this is my hypothesis with that.
Yeah.
What if Doc invented the time machine because when he came from the future, he had to know that it worked. Maybe it was like a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? He keeps having these experiments that, all right, this doesn't work, this doesn't work, this doesn't work. But until he actually saw somebody use it and tell him, no, what you invented does work, that do you think that actually led him to believe that he can actually make something that does work? Like the chicken and the egg. Like what came
Yeah.
first? Was it the invention or was it when he realized, oh no, I
Well,
did make something that works?
well, here's the thing. The original, before any time traveling and any changes were done, Doc Brown was basically known as a crazy failed scientist. Everything he invented, everything he did didn't work. So that's the point. Like, and even when he first meets Marty, he put the damn thing in his head and read his thoughts, and he's like, "Dude, you are so far off." And then he's like, and then that's a great quote too when he tells him, "Yo, you know what? I just realized this damn thing doesn't work at all." And then nothing he invents works. So when he finally saw that the flux capacitor worked, that the actual thing that Marty came in worked, it was just like, it gave him purpose. Like, holy shit, I actually invented something that works. And then that's when Marty tells him, bet your ass it works. Like, I'm living proof, I'm here. Like, I wouldn't be here if your shit didn't work. So I don't know. I just, that's like one of my favorite parts because it's a very telling, scene when it's just like, Doc realizes, damn, I actually invented something that works. And Marty proves himself that he wasn't lying about being from the future. So I thought that was really cool.
All right. So since we got your favorite quotes, what is your favorite scene of the movie?
My favorite scene, believe it or not, I don't know if you're going to believe it, is actually right as Marty finishes the whole play Johnny Be Good and he meets with Doc, right when Doc is looking at his watches like 3 times, 3 different watches for you're still the same time. And he's just like, damn, he's late. Damn, he's late. Damn, he's late. And then I love when Marty gets out the car and that dialogue they have when he's like, yo, you have no concept of time? And he's like, yo, I had to change. I'm not going back in that zoot suit. And then he's like, yo, my father, he came through. He laid him out. He laid Biff out. And then Doc looks at him and says, he's like, yo, he's never stood up to Biff in his life. And he's like, never? He's like, no, why? Forget it. I thought that was such a great scene because it was actually foreshadowing what's going to happen when he actually goes back to 1985 and how all those different things that he did changed everything in the future. Because now instead of George McFly being Biff's bitch, Biff became his bitch because he fucking knocked him out with that left, gave him the business. And because of that, it just changed everything. And Doc knew that. That's why he was like, he's never stood up to him. He's like, no, he knew. Yeah, going forward, he's always going to stand up to him. That's the subtle line in that scene. That's why I love that part. But it's a very subtle thing going on.
I agree with you.
Yeah, I love that part. It's very telling.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to tell you that my favorite scene is the entire sequence when Marty does go back. I don't mean to jump to the ending.
Yeah.
Yeah, like when he comes back, it's thrilling, it's tense. You get that 2 minutes of them trying to get this thing to work. And you feel that because you're seeing all the struggles that they went through for the whole week. They finally accomplished their mission. Now they have one last thing to do. And God, for some reason, won't let them accomplish this. He strikes down the tree. Like, they have to go through all these obstacles still at the end, but they overcome it. And it's thrilling because you feel the tension build up to it when you get there. And I think that by far that's my favorite scene. Like when he actually does make it back, because you don't know yet, all right, is this going to work? Is he going to make it back? And it's that race, that race against time.
Oh no, that scene is so dramatic. Like, I'm right there with you. If it wasn't for that other part, that'd be my favorite part too, because they have you at the edge of your seat. Like, damn, like, is he gonna make it? They have you at the edge of your seat. Like, is he gonna make it? Is he gonna make it? I don't know. So I agree with you 100%. That's fantastic sequence of events from everything.
So let's jump back into some of the other more questions that we got.
Yes, sir.
Was it cool for kids to wear 3D glasses back in the day? Why does his boy keep wearing those glasses?
I don't know. That dude is kind of like weird, but he's fucking yapping and talking in tongues. I don't know. There's something weird about that dude, but I think it was from my recollection. I think it was cool. 3D. I'm guessing in the 50s, 3D. Were they even anything 3D at that time? Was it new at that time? We have to do a little homework on that one. It's probably new at that time, so maybe that's what made it cool to rock it.
Yeah.
Because 3D at that time, I'm sure was probably something brand new. But yes,
Next question from the fans. You're a big Star Wars guy, just like myself.
yes,
Marty kisses his mom. Luke kisses his sister. What's worse?
kissing your mom. Period.
Why?
Yeah, your mom. I mean, your sister. Could get away with that one, especially in Luke's case because he didn't know.
We got the tough questions here, brother.
Luke didn't know, so he is guilt. He's guilt free. He didn't know. He knew later, but I'm gonna say I'm going with Marty. I'm going with Marty and his mom because that was still bad.
All right. Here's not sure if you remember because you saw this recently, right?
Yeah,
When Marty's arm disappears,
yeah.
was that the same Teen Wolf effect when he was changing? Did you see that? Or am I going did you notice that?
Well, I mean, you could be right. I would have to watch Teen Wolf again. The last time I saw Teen Wolf was maybe I'd say a year ago. I know it was kind of similar. Like he looks at his hand that it's changing and stuff like that. I think didn't they both come out the same year too? Teen Wolf is 19. If I'm not mistaken, I think Teen Wolf is 1985 as well. Just like Back to the Future. I would have to research that one more time, but I'm pretty sure it is. But I don't think it was the same sequence though, but similar sequences.
All right. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. I mean, that was just a fun fact for myself that I
But I had to. But now I have to go watch Teen Wolf again because I haven't seen it in a while, so I'm gonna have to go watch it again.
That's fine. That's fine. All right, let's get into character development. Here's something that I noticed when I was rewatching the film as well. Because once again, we're not talking about 2 or 3, but I do want to foreshadow. Do you think that the movie established Marty's change in his character? So let me explain what I mean.
Yes.
The whole time in number 1, he was never a kind of person that was more assertive. He was always like, oh, they'll never like me, just like his father, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So throughout the film, he keeps getting attacked and keeps coming in through, he keeps overcoming obstacles, right? But, and not to give things away for part 2 and part 3, but in part 2 and part 3, then his bigger character flaw becomes him being called a chicken because he doesn't want to be called out on something and he wants to prove people wrong. Do you think that this film really led him down that path because he kept being challenged this way? What are your thoughts?
I kind of alluded to this earlier in the conversations we were having, and I do agree with you that I think that happens with everybody. Like, if you notice during the entire movie, everybody's character seems to develop and change in some type of manner. And I think it happens because, as we alluded to, he went back in time and he did a lot of changes that affected how, the future is going to be going forward. That's why Doc.
But I was going to say, but he never affected himself. He did that organically.
Yeah.
Like, well, somebody didn't go back in time and change the way he is. Does that make sense? All the changes he did affected the people around him.
I agree with you, but here's where we're going to disagree. Because remember, the reason he didn't have so much confidence at the beginning of the movie, he even says it himself when he's talking to Jennifer, that he says, man, I don't think I'm cut out for music. Man, I'm starting to sound like my father. Because his father was a little bitch. And now, when he changed the future, now he's gained more confidence, not only because he gained more confidence, he was challenged, but also because his father now was a stand-up guy. His father became an author. His father was not afraid to defend himself. So his father's confidence came up to him as a child as well. And remember, 30 years, a lot of things change. So I think that also really affected him. Like, seeing his father now with that swagger, with that confidence, gave him some confidence and some swagger. But that's just the way I'm reading it. But of course, yeah, I do think, and just like you said, not going to give away 2 or 3, but yeah, his thing is that he's always being challenged because he is kind of short, because he's, Michael J. Fox is a really short guy, because he is small, because they told him he can't sing or he's too loud. So he's always being challenged. So I think that is where he gets that little chip in his shoulder. So always want to, kind of clack back or fight back, or, that's where he gets that, which definitely, as you eloquently pointed, it's going to come into play in parts 2 and 3.
Another thing that I wanted to mention, and that kind of leads into my second note that I wrote, was his parents definitely listened to all the advice he gave them because they completely changed. Like his mom with the drinking and the smoking,
Yes.
and his dad with the confidence.
Yes.
I love how he told his dad about confidence, but then he started listening to his dad about confidence, which is like come on, like
Yeah. 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 And you're 100% right. He had that much influence on his parents when he went back in time that, dude, everything he told them, they followed. And then that's why it changed the future so much. And it's crazy, man. Like, I'm telling you, like, that's something that that's something that I was telling you earlier. I don't think you notice these things if you watch the movie for the first time. I think these are things you notice as you watch them, if you watch the movie a couple times and you start noticing, oh, wow, look how different his parents are in the future. Or look at this, or look at how the neighborhood's more clean. And I don't know, it's just things like that you notice when you watch this movie multiple times versus the first time. But yes, I agree with all your points on that. Absolutely.
did Marty? Here's a question for you: did Marty name himself? Is that the paradox? So right? Once again,
I've always thought about that.
yeah, he goes back in time. He's used the nickname Marty, and if he doesn't go back in time, do the parents name him Marty? Does that make sense? Because they love that idea. Go ahead.
Well, here's the way I interpret it. They called him because his name was already Marty, so it's not like he self-proclaimed his name. But the very telling part is right as he's leaving, his mom says, "Marty, that's such a nice name." So they probably named him Marty after him, Mr. Calvin Klein, aka Marty. They named it after him because he was such a big influence on them. They probably said, "Wow, this is a nice name. We're gonna use one of our children to. We're gonna name one of our children that." So yeah, in one sense, you could say that he did name himself because he had that much influence on his parents that they actually said, "You know what? We like this name so much, we're gonna use it on one of our kids, and we like the guy a lot."
Do you
Yeah.
think, in all the movies you've seen, is this the best time travel movie ever?
Yes. Again, I think it has everything. It has a good story. It has great action, as we already talked about. Good adventure. The road to him having to find the way to make it back to 1985 when all he needed is plutonium, but there ain't no plutonium to be found. They gotta freaking let the lightning that has to strike the clock tower, and they gotta freaking hit it at a precise moment. I think all of that drama plus all the comedy that's sprinkled in the movie just makes this one of the best time travel movies. Another one that I like, is I like the Time Machine remake with Guy Pearce, but it ain't no Back to the Future though. So
Now, for those out there listening to the podcast, I do want to mention two of my favorite films that are like low key, international, and also another one that's very like indie. That's Predestination with Ethan Hawke. That's very low key. You should check it out, brother. Very good. But yeah, go ahead. What's up?
I don't know if this one counts as time travel, but I always thought it was a very interesting movie, Deja Vu with Denzel. I don't know if that counts as it, but I thought that movie is also a very cool concept, involving time traveling.
I mean, he technically does go back in time because he's changing the events.
Yes.
Yeah, no, Deja Vu's cool, but for the people who want to really like expand their movie knowledge, I want to definitely give a shout out to Predestination with Ethan Hawke. And the second movie is, if you're not scared of seeing subtitles, is Time Crimes. It's a Spanish international movie. Check it out. They will blow your mind. They definitely rival this film that we're talking about, but definitely check it out.
The Don Corleone has spoken. That's why you're the Don.
Yes, sir. So, where do you want to jump to next? What do you want to talk about next? Middle?
Well, we were, the middle. So I would say, we might as well talk about this because it is important towards the movie, so we don't lose our audience.
Yes, sir.
When he first tells first of all, he interferes with his parents' meeting, which I thought was, very, very crucial part of the movie because that's what sets all of this plot. This is what really gets the plot, twisting right now. Is he sees his father being a peeping Tom, which I always thought was hilarious. Which, just a little side note, it's funny how when they were telling the story earlier in the movie, and the mom says, "What were you doing, bird watching?" He's like, "What, Lorraine? What?" Because he was a peeping Tom. But I thought that was
I put that in my notes too, that he was bird watching. And then, did you notice the prosthetics on the mom? I never noticed the prosthetics. Yo, this is crazy. Like they aged her so well.
Yeah, I know. They made her look mad old.
And she was the same age as Michael J.
Yeah, you're right.
Yo, y'all the same age? That was really good makeup.
Yeah, they made her look mad old. And that's why he tells that's why he's so shocked when he sees his mom later in the future. He's like, "Mom, you're so thin." But yeah, like so he interferes with what was the original meeting of his parents, which was his father was supposed to get hit by the car by his mother's father, and he interfered. So he ends up getting hit with the car, and that's one of the reasons why his mom is infatuated with him, because it's Florence Nightingale syndrome, which it's the nurse falls in love with the patient, and that was the original meaning of how his parents were to meet and fall in love. But unfortunately, he interfered with that, which is why Doc, when he shows Doc the picture of him and his brother and sister, his brother's head already erases because since he interfered with.
Let's talk about that. I wanted to mention something. I never noticed that when he went to go see Doc, right after that scene, that Doc points out to him, he's like, "Oh no, this is forgery. Look at your brother's head." And I never knew what he meant, but when you look at the picture, his brother's head was already disappearing because he interfered.
Yes.
And Doc never knew that. He was just saying, "Look, you did a crappy job."
Yeah.
Of editing this picture. Look at his head disappearing.
Again, these are things you don't notice if you don't watch this movie multiple times. You're only going to notice it after you watch it a couple times. You're like, "Oh, that's what he meant by that." Yes, that's what he meant. Yes.
I never know. I was like, "Oh, that's right. His head's disappearing."
Yeah, because he had already interfered. So he already basically started the process of never existing. So that's why his brother's head already started disappearing.
Right.
Very interesting stuff. Yes. That's a great point to bring up to people who have already seen this movie and probably never even noticed that themselves. Yes. Very, very good point. So, with that said, he interferes with his parents' meeting. So now, he has to, as Doc points out to him, he has to fix this now, because if not, he's going to cease from existing. So now he enrolls himself in the school. He's trying to buddy up to his father. By the way, a little sidebar on that. One of the producers of the movie, one of the basic concepts of why they made this film is a producer said it, that he was always very curious to see, man, I wonder what would happen if I go back in time and met my father. Like, will we get along? Would we hang out? So I always thought it was very interesting to see him and his father, like, being around each other in this movie, to see, if they actually relate to each other, which, ironically enough, they did have some similarities, not only because of, obviously because he's his son, but they did have some similarities with how they sit and the fact that he's embarrassed to show people his science fiction stories, which Marty is afraid to his music. Exactly. So those are very key scenes that you start to notice in the film. But anyway.
I was going to say, I would argue, though, Marty is more like his mom because he's more of like the rebel out of the three. He takes more chances here and there. And I feel like he was the one that was more outgoing when his mom wanted to like rebel, and it's crazy how she hid the fact that she was like very rebellious like that. That was hilarious.
Yeah, I know. She's like, "Oh, I never." Well, you could also say, I've thought about that too. I've thought about both sides. Like, man, his mom's being kind of hypocrite, like saying that she doesn't like a girl sitting in a parked car with a guy, and she did all of that. But you could also say that she maybe she only got that wild when she got with Marty, because Marty. That's what I'm thinking, and I'm gonna tell you why I support this thesis. Because remember, Marty's father was always a little shy, cowardly. You really think he got them juices flowing? Let's be real here for a second here. Let's be honest here. Even Marty tells him in the scene when he's like, "Yo, go in there and talk." He's like, "Go in there and talk to her. Tell her whatever comes natural." He's like, nothing is coming to my mind. He's like, "Dude, how was I even born?"
Right.
And he's like, "What?" He's like, "No, nothing." So, I mean, for me, I'm going to be honest with you, because, again, Let's put things in proper context here. Again, when he goes back to 1985 after changing everything, notice that his mom says she loves Jennifer. Why does she love her now?
Mm-hmm.
Because she ain't being a hypocrite now. She knew that, oh, I actually did do things like that when I was young. Maybe she didn't do that the first time around because George is more of a bitch.
Right.
Just my 2 cents looking at it from a distance.
All right. Fair enough.
I'm just saying. Just saying.
So, for those who don't know, Marty was casted by another guy, right? We spoke about this before.
Yeah, Eric Stoltz, the guy from Pulp Fiction.
Here's a question for you, brother. Would you change a scene or an actor in this film?
This movie?
Mm-hmm.
No. I will keep it exactly the same. Parts 2 and 3 are the ones that could use some changes here and there. But part 1, flawless. I wouldn't change anything. And to be honest with you, shouts out to Eric Stoltz. I think he would have did a good job, but I don't think he would have been Michael J. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't think he would have been better than Michael J. Michael J. almost couldn't do it because he had a TV show he was doing. That's the reason why they had that. That's why they had Eric Stoltz ready. But they always had Michael J. in line for this film. He's the guy they wanted, and with good reason. Because I'm sorry, if Eric Stoltz would have been there, he would have did a good job, but he wouldn't have been Michael J. Oh, there is something I would change, but it's not anything wrong with the film. It's when Marty says, "Damn it, Doc, why you tore that letter? We never had more time." He's like, "I got all the time I want. And he decided to only go 10 minutes earlier. Why don't you go back like an hour, dummy? That's the only thing. And that's not the movie's fault. That's Marty's fault. I would have been like, Marty, like, use your head. Go back like an hour earlier or something like that, bro. Sneak in, whisper at him or something and tell him, yo. But anyway, aside from that,
but once again,
that's pretty much about it.
Yeah. We can't really go back and change that part.
Like 10 minutes?
We would have lost the suspension because we didn't know that he already decided to put on the vest. So that would have ruined that magical scene.
Of course.
It's hard for me to argue for that one, but it is funny the fact that he only chose 10 minutes. And I'm like, bro, give yourself an hour.
Give yourself like an hour or something. Why 10? Like, why 10? What's 10 gonna do?
Yeah.
I always think about that. Aside from that, like I said, the movie is flawless, man. It's a flawless movie.
Here's another one for you. If you had to sell this movie to a 15-year-old, why would they watch this film? How would you sell it to them?
Wow. I mean, if I saw 15-year-olds now, no, just tell them, look, this movie has everything you need. Like I said earlier, it's a great sci-fi, good action, good adventure. It definitely has some comedy to it. You just got to pay attention.
Right. And it's quick. I noticed that.
And it's not a long movie. It's like an hour and 50 minutes or whatever, something like that, an hour 40. Like it has everything you need. It's funny. It's freaking sci-fi, which gets your imagination going, good action, adventure, a lot of plot twisting with how to get back in time and how to bring his parents back together. I think I already know what else to be said. I think the movie sells itself.
All right. You ready to talk about the ending then?
Yes, I am. I am ready. Definitely ready.
All right. Go ahead.
Well, before we get to the ending, we do have to talk about just a scene that I always, like I was telling you earlier, the only scene that always makes me feel a little uneasy is when fucking Biff pulls Marty out the car. He's about to try to rape Lorraine. I thought that was like, like when I first saw that movie as a kid, I knew he was doing something wrong, but I was just like, damn, like, now that I'm older, I'm like, damn, that guy was really about to rape this chick. Like, this fucking asshole.
I know, and then his boys helped him out. Billy Zane and his boys.
I thought that was a powerful scene, and then George comes and gives him a big hook. I loved it. Definitely one of the best scenes of the movie. Because deep down inside, you always thought, and this is the way I always felt since the first time I seen this movie, you always felt that George is going to wimp out and then Marty's going to have to come bail him out. And to see George give him the hook, I thought that was beautiful. To see George give him the hook and then Marty is even shocked. Like, wow, he actually freaking did it.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it goes back to like his character development, the fact that he took Marty's advice.
Yeah.
He knew that eventually he would have to step up for himself because he just been punked around so much, And it was also very telling in the fact that he he still had some reservations though because he let the other dude cut in on the dance.
Yeah,
But he definitely didn't back down when he saw that, hey, like, you know what, man, if I didn't back down to Biff, I ain't backing down to no.
exactly. Like, yo, you already stood up for yourself once. Why are you gonna punk out now? Like, I don't understand that. He realized that, and that's why that's one of my favorite scenes too. That is one of my favorite scenes too, when he pushes the guy, and then Marty all of a sudden, after fading away, gets up and starts playing the guitar. I thought that was a cool last scene. But now let's get to the crux of it. So right away.
Here's my question for you, because I was always very confused when it came to the ending.
Yeah.
Doc tears the letter.
Yes.
So did he not tear the letter? Did he go back and get the letter?
I am convinced that somehow, some way, he went back and got the letter. That's what I think he did. I think he did that because he did tear it. But at the same time, I've always gone back and forth with this too. Remember, he already had an idea that something bad was going to happen because of the videotaping. Because he saw the part in the camera where he's like, oh my God, they found me. I don't know how they've run for it, Marty. So he already had an idea that something bad was happening. I think that's why he didn't want Marty to say anything. Because he didn't want it to affect the course of what's going to happen. He'd rather let things play out naturally.
But then why did he change?
You mean, like, why did he actually decide to look at the letter?
What throughout his life led him to believe that, you know what, maybe I should continue to live on versus just inventing this time machine and just calling it quits? Like, what in the movie do you think signified his change?
Well, I honestly think that he originally didn't want to see it because he didn't want to know too much. I think the reason he didn't want to know too much is because he didn't want to affect how time goes, because he still wanted everything to stay the same. He wanted to invent the time machine and do everything he did. So he didn't want to know too much information because then he feels that might affect the way things turn out. I think he decided, now it's never been stated, but I think he decided to go back and find the letter or maybe he pieced it together himself. I don't know. I mean, maybe he just finally decided, okay, I need to know what happened, so I'm ready for it. That's my take on it. Now, what made him change his mind? I don't know. I mean, it could be he told Marty that Marty influenced him because now he felt confidence because, as you and me talked about earlier, he actually invented something. He actually invented something that works now. So now he has a purpose for living.
Right.
But if I had to just I'm gonna just throw this one out there. I think it's the final time when Marty's yelling at him like, "Yo, I have to tell you about the future," and he's just like, "What?" And he's telling him like, "On the night I go back," and then that's when the lightning strikes. So I think that final, if I had to take a guess, that final when Marty's yelling at him, I think that piqued his curiosity. Like, damn, like if this guy's really trying to tell me something, that means something really bad happens. But I always think, even though he did show him the letter in the end, my personal opinion is I think he already had an idea that something was going to happen because he saw the video. There's the scene that
he kept watching the video.
He kept rewinding it. He knew. I think he already knew, and I think what he didn't want is for Marty to tell him too much so it doesn't affect how time goes. Because remember, he even told Marty, if a man knows too much, it's going to change my destiny. And I'm going to endanger myself just like you endangered yours. So I think that's what he was afraid of. I think he always knew in the back of his mind something's going to happen to me because he saw the video. So he had to know. I mean, he had to know that something was coming. But, hey.
All right. So here's my next burning question. What if Doc didn't make it and connect that last cable? Marty stays in 1985. In 1955, sorry. Then what? What happens?
Honestly, I think that he would have just they would have just kept trying to find different ways to get back to 19. That's it.
You would think, right?
That's it. Maybe they would have broke into like a damn something to find plutonium or something. I don't know.
I know, right?
They would have just had to keep trying different ways to get back. That's all that would have happened. Eventually, he would have come back.
Yeah, it's curious to think about that. It's like, oh man, like if you wouldn't have got that last cable, like, ooh, it was that close, man. The tension, like I said, that's why I love That's why that is the best scene in the movie.
Yeah, that's what makes it. That's what makes it so dope.
The tension that they built to like the very last minute, it holds your attention. You know what I mean? Like you can't have that scene on and look away. You know, you have to like, no, what the heck is gonna happen?
And then the car didn't want to start, and then he's just like, yeah, no, I agree with you. I agree, 100%. No, that those are the kind of things you need to build it up, to build up the climax. Because who the hell's going to be interested if it's just a simple ending? Ain't nobody going to give a shit. You got to build it up. You know, that's what makes that scene so crucial.
So we both agree, flawless movie. We wouldn't change anything. Here's a burning question that I have.
Shoot,
Robert Zemeckis, is this his best film, or is it Forrest Gump? You can only pick one, and the other one disappears, and you've never seen it ever in your life. Which one?
damn, I love both,
I know,
and it's hard.
but you have to pick one.
Back to the Future. That's it.
Why over Forrest Gump? Why?
Well, for me personally, it's just that, on my personal movie scale, Back to the Future, if anybody out there who doesn't know this, well, you're going to know it now, it's in my top 10 of all-time favorite movies. Forrest Gump is somewhere like in my top 20, top 25. So, just by that logic alone, I'm going to ride it down with Back to the Future, but I love both films because both films to me are outstanding. But I think Back to the Future is just a tad bit of a better overall movie.
Mm-hmm.
Just better overall. But Forrest Gump, I love Forrest Gump because Forrest Gump is very inspiring.
Yeah.
Like, what I love about Forrest Gump is it is a movie that can inspire you, you know?
Yeah, that's true. There's a lot of you could take away from that film, and Tom Hanks really goes all out in Forrest Gump, and it's amazing to see. But yeah, it's hard to go because you know what it is too. Back to the Future has influenced so much other things, you know, with the park rides and like so much like pop culture history that Forrest Gump did the complete opposite. It took history and included it in the film. Back to the Future brought history out, you know, like there's a lot of pop culture references from Back to the Future.
The only thing I will give Forrest Gump though is that they did inspire Bubba Gump.
Yeah.
Bubba Gump Shrimp. That did come from Forrest Gump. That's where they got the idea for that restaurant, by the way.
No, I know, but it's one influence versus like everything everything that Marty and Doc have influenced.
Well, like I told you earlier, Back to the Future, the DeLorean, the Universal Studios rides, everything. It's. I'm telling you, it's one of the most iconic movies ever.
Listen, don't get me wrong. This is a perfect film.
Yes.
But as far as time travel, the aspect of the time traveling, I guess because they made it more comedic, you know, which makes the movie fun because you want a fun film. The other movies that are recommended, they're not necessarily fun. They're more like they make your mind think and they mess with you. So that's why I really enjoyed those movies as far as like the time travel aspect. They're not fantastic overall plot films, but man, I'm telling you right now, whoever's listening to this, man, Predestination and Time Crimes. And actually, you know what? I do want to even give a shout out to the person who recommended this to me. Little tease. He's going to be on my podcast next week. But yeah, man, those two films are great. But enough about those films.
But I will say this. I agree with you on that. Back to the Future, the first part, as far as the time traveling goes, is okay. But two, I think part two is really good with the time traveling because they get really hectic with it, like going back to 1985, going back to the future, going back to the past, this and that, and it gets more complex. I think part two does a better job of the overall time traveling.
And it's funny you say that because I got into an argument with somebody the other day, and I just said, all right, well, out of 2 and 3, what do you like more? And they told me 3, and I'm like, no, I kind of like 2 more.
Nah, 2 is better. 2 is better.
Yeah, the time structure was a lot cleaner to me, but all right. Well, we discussed the ending. We loved it. We think it's a perfect ending and a perfect film. It's time to name your MVP. Who is the MVP of this movie? Is it Doc? Is it Marty? Is it somebody else?
Wow. To me, it's going to be a tie between
a tie.
Yes, between Doc and George McFly.
Wow.
Because because George McFly came up big when the lights got bright. George McFly came up big with a big left hook, and he held it down, and saving Marty freaking with the push, and Doc with the classic, which I'm watching it right now as we speak, with the classic sliding. With the classic sliding down and connecting it at the last minute. Dude, what's more clutch than that? And also him protecting himself with the bulletproof vest, which was also clutch. So it's a tie. It's a tie.
Those are great picks because it's true. It's like George McFly was pretty much the sixth man. He came off the bench, was like, bro, give me the rock. Yeah, he came up with a big stop. He popped 2 threes. He did Ray Allen, pretty much.
Dude, he came off. He said, yo, I got this. Don't worry about it. Give me the ball. He came up big. Like I said, when the lights got bright, George came through. But then Doc, of course, shut it down. It's like George came off the bench, and then Doc was the closer. He was the Kobe, and he just closed it up. Slid down the damn thing, connected it right at the nick of time. Dude, that's clutch. Clutch.
Man, this was a hard one for me to pick, but I'm just going to give it to Marty. I think that, you don't have this film without your leader. Like, hey, man, he's the leader of the team. He influenced...
he's the point guard.
He's the point guard, yeah. And he influenced the mom, the dad. He influenced Doc. He influenced everybody in the film, and I feel like without Marty pretty much holding it down for 40 minutes in the court, they don't get to the ending where you need the clutch players at the end.
I agree. Like I said, it's just that I just judge the film based on these 2 big iconic scenes. George knocking out Biff, and then freaking Doc coming through just in the nick of time to get Marty back to 1985. Man, huge, clutch.
All right, you have to pick one song: Back in Time or Power of Love?
Power of Love.
Why?
I love that song. I actually listen to it every day.
Wow. I actually had Back in Time.
Back in Time is good, but I like the Power of Love better.
I was going to say, I think that Back in Time is more influential. I think... No, I can't say that because Power of Love is also very influential, but I personally think that Back in Time is the better one.
Well, I like the Power of Love because I guess it's just like, to me, it's the more iconic one because it's right in the beginning of the film, setting everything up. So I don't know. I guess it just sticks out more to me. But Back in Time is a good song too. I like Back in Time.
All right. Yeah, fair enough, man. I have a piece of trivia for you.
Yes, sir.
When Zemeckis filmed this, did you know, or what do you think? Do you think that they already signed 2 and 3, or they did not? What do you think?
If I'm not mistaken, I think they had a plan to do 2. It just hadn't been, I don't know, it just took them a couple years to get that project off the ground. But I know when they did 2, they already had 3 ready because I think they filmed both of them at the same time.
So did you know that the to be continued at the end wasn't in the original film?
You're right. You know what? I'm sorry. I did know this, but go ahead. Say it. I did know this. Yes, you're right.
For those who don't know, and that's my piece of trivia, was that the to be continued was added when the VHS came out because they didn't get approval for 2 and 3, which they filmed obviously back to back. But yeah, so that was the to be continued. Yeah, they never had a plan.
Yeah, I had read that before. Yeah, you're right. I 100% right. No, yeah, it wasn't originally in the plans. They weren't sure if they were going to get a 2 and 3. So, but then they added that at the end. Yeah, you're right.
All right, brother. Well, do you have any shout outs? Anything else you want to plug? What are you working on? Anything else you want to put on?
No, much, man. Just, stuck here in the man cave, working out, since this pandemic is. It's been still going. I hope everybody out there stay healthy. Shout out to, all the boys, the Tigers, Latigan in the building. Hopefully that hopefully you play this one back for them if they need any movie advice. They always seem to be asking for it, so play them this tape.
I mean, that's the whole reason why I started this podcast, was to go ahead and give, favorite films that people like and give them my reviews. But if anybody ever wants any like recommends, I always tell everybody, yo, reach out, man. I'm right here.
Oh yeah, man. Honestly, bro, we can talk about Back to the Future all day, bro. It's such a good movie. The trilogy, I love the trilogy. Like I said, 2 and 3 I could critique more, but number 1, flawless.
There's not much for us to say here.
Christopher Lloyd, he actually wanted to do a part 4. He wanted to keep going. He loves the franchise. He wanted to keep doing it. He was like, damn, I wish we would have done another one.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, everybody flawless. All the actors I thought did a great job. Leah Thompson, the mom, I met her once a couple months ago. Shouts out to her.
Oh yeah, you told me.
Nice lady. Tom Biff does a great job of being an asshole, which I thought that's the signs of a good actor. Him and Eric Stoltz, from the trivia I read, they actually like really were like getting real physical with each other. Like Eric Stoltz was getting pissed because supposedly Biff would get like real rough with him when they were supposed to do like the fight scenes and stuff. So, Eric Stoltz wanted to get payback on him, but then he got let go from the movie. Go figure.
But now, bro, thank you for joining, man. I look forward to inviting you back for a future film. I have some ideas on where and when I'm going to invite you back. But yeah, I'll keep you posted, brother.
Yes, sir. It's an honor. Let you run them by me. We'll see if we can get this deal locked up.
Thank you, sir.